Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ajay and Nathan Discuss Movies, the show where we discuss movies, both old and new. Today, we got something a little different, little blast from the past, because there's absolutely nothing in theaters right now worth watching.
Wait, Nathan, are you telling me Reagan isn't worth watching?
I gotta say, telling you Reagan's not really worth watching.
There was a fellow that was on his way to a mountain resort, and a policeman stopped him and said, "Did you know that you're driving without taillights?" And the driver hopped out of the car. He was so badly shaken that the officer took pity on him and said, "Well, now, wait a minute, calm down. It's not that serious an infraction." The fellow said, "It may not mean much to you, but to me it means I've lost my trailer, a wife, and 4 kids."
How about a Frey AID?
A fried? I can't say I've got much interest in that either.
Yeah.
Iris, I've already gotten the video off the internet. I'll take care of him next.
So this week we decided to do something a little different, an older movie. And Ajay, would you like to tell us what the name of that movie is?
It is an old movie.
It's an old movie, yeah.
And I feel like this movie deserves a lot more credit than it deserves because it's a hilarious movie with a lot of quotable lines. And as the title suggests, it is Freddy Got Fingered.
Freddy Got Fingered, directed and starring Tom Green.
And a very wacky movie.
It's an incredibly strange film. I almost want to say it is a work of art in a sense.
Yeah.
But we'll get all into that. Ajay, can you tell us what Freddy Got Fingered is about?
All right. So as Nathan said, it's a directorial debut by Tom Green as he also acts in this film. He plays a 28-year-old cartoonist named Gordon Brody, I would say.
Gordy?
Gordy Brody.
Gordy!
Gordon Brody. I obviously, we can't swear in the first 10 minutes of it.
No, we can't.
But just know that he is a very mentally disabled guy. And that's putting it lightly.
Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong.
And
nice.
he gets a job at a cheese sandwich factory in L.A., and he moves to L.A. not because of the cheese sandwich factory job, but because he wants to pursue his dreams as a cartoonist. That goes awry. That does not go in his favor, as he's soon let go of the cheese sandwich factory because executive tells him that his cartoons are trash. So he moves back at home with his parents, and craziness ensues.
Craziness is the operative word there. So hard to keep a straight face while you keep saying the cheese sandwich factory. But Ajay, what are your overall thoughts on Freddy Got Fingered?
This movie was nonsensical. It was chaotic. It at points delved into lines of absurdity / cringe.
Yes.
But it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
You hear that, Dad? You're gonna pay! He's a molester. He's a child molester! Ah! 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 You better run! You liar!
Yeah.
It's in my... If I had to do a letterbox top 4, those videos of actors and actresses, directors saying their 4 favorite movies, I would have this movie in there. It's that great. I love it so much. I think Tom Green is a genius. I mean, obviously, if you're watching this review, we assume that you've also watched the movie.
Or at least have a passing knowledge of what it's all about.
Yes. And in this movie, Tom Green or Freddy Got Fingered, or Gordon Brody gets a check for $1 million for his cartoon film, or for his cartoon. And he spends it on all these frivolous things, and he tells this construction workers that easy come, easy go. And in a lot of ways, that is a parallel to this film.
Yes. It is.
Because I had $1 million, okay? And then I spent $150,000 on the jewels, okay? And then I spent $100,000, I rented a helicopter, okay? And then you add the $750,000, that's all my money. That's all my money gone. It's $1 million gone. No, easy come, easy go.
I find it hard to describe this as a movie, because if you look at it as like a movie, as a narrative feature, it makes no sense. It is incoherent. There's no sense of pace or narrative flow.
Yes.
But if you look at it as a piss take, as a comedian was given all this money, all this creative control to make a product, and he kind of just looked around and is just like, I'm going to make the dumbest thing I could possibly create, then it's a work of sheer, utter brilliance. There never in our lifetime will a studio hand out just that much money to a creative mind and say, go nuts, we don't understand you, make whatever you want. That this kind of movie will never happen again, and I think that's a shame.
That is a shame.
Why is the movie called Freddy Got Fingered? I know what the reference is, but you could have called it cheese sandwiches. You could have called it dead animal carcass. You could have called. I mean, there's a lot of things. Gourd adventure. I don't know.
Yeah, we could have called it.
Before we get into this review, it's important to know like what Tom Green was known for during this time.
Yeah.
So he was known for the Tom Green Show on MTV. He had a public access show about the Tom Green Show as well. And it was basically like the precursor before like the takeover of Eric Andre and Zach Galifianakis. And this movie basically showcases his focus on cringe comedy.
Yeah, like anti-humor.
Anti-humor, yeah. Very much Andy Kaufman.
It'll be great. People will think their TV is broken.
Yeah, the entire conception of the film is very Andy Kaufman, in the sense I'm making this entire project as just a joke that I find funny.
Yes.
And that only a select few psychos will also find funny.
Yeah. It's a great film. I love it so much.
Yeah.
There are moments in this film that really like catch you by surprise.
Yeah.
And that's saying something.
It's like, I think it's only within like the first 10, 15 minutes or so. It's like, first off, the movie, when it starts off, it's just him just like mumbling to himself.
Yeah.
While he's just laughing alone with his cartoons, like, hi, I'm X-Ray Cat. And then the beavers. He's just mumbling just to himself about his cartoons. And it's like, there are moments in the movie where if you like changed the lighting, if you changed like the music that was playing, it would go off like a psychological thriller. Like, Gordy is like a Norman Bates figure.
I was thinking that if you just change the music, it's basically a Darren Aronofsky film.
This is essentially like, in another universe, this is like an Ari Aster, like A24 horror film.
I wouldn't even say that. No. I wouldn't even say that.
This is Darren Aronofsky's Freddy Got Fingered.
Yes. But again, there's so many quotables in this movie. There's so many quotable lines in this movie. It's amazing. Like, in terms of the staying power that this movie has, despite it being considered one of the worst movies of 2001. And again, this movie was released in 2001. And I think it's quite telling that this movie was released in 2001, pre 9/11.
Yes. Instead of saying things like pre 9/11 and post 9/11, we should refer to it as pre Freddy Got Fingered and post Freddy Got Fingered.
Yeah, because the level of films that were released post Freddy Got Fingered were pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
in terms of comedy.
Because this was like the summer of like the gross out comedy, like the American Pies and like the road trip, just like dude bro comedies.
Yeah.
And then smack dab in the middle is Freddy Got Fingered, which is like the antithesis to all of these. It is the twisted Cronenberg of all these movies. And I feel like it's aged. It's kind of aged well.
Yes.
Because
absolutely.
Dropping this in 2001, like, I'm not surprised that everyone was shocked and appalled. But watching it today, it kind of holds up. It's aged well because, again, like, a lot of it is like the precursor to like the like Adult Swim kind of humor, the anti kind of like crazy, angry, volatile kind of comedy.
You're not Martin Luther King! You're not! Coachella sucks this year.
That we have today, a lot of shows and comedians are inspired very much by this type of comedy. And so watching it today, it kind of blends in really well. Like you said, like the Eric Andre, Zach Galifianakis Between Two Ferns kind of thing.
In 2013, you pardoned a turkey. What do you have planned for 2014?
We'll probably pardon another turkey. We do that at every Thanksgiving. Was that depressing to you, seeing one turkey kind of taken out of circulation, a turkey you couldn't eat?
I'd say even in a sense like Nathan For You, just like in the sense of like the awkward, like cringe comedy, like the stuff where it kind of like hurts you mentally to like watch and kind of like go with it. It's so strange.
Yeah. I mean, and again, this movie, as you said, has aged extremely well. And the main reason behind it is the cast. Rip Torn is an amazing father.
Rip Torn is so funny. He seems so confused by everything going on, but he completely goes all in on it.
So Harlan Williams was also in the movie. He plays the banker.
Yeah,
who's friends with Gordon.
Gordon's friend. Yeah.
And he was on We Might Be Drunk podcast featuring Mark Norman and Sam Morril. And in that podcast episode that he filmed with them, he said that Rip Torn and Tom Green had a contentious relationship with one another.
But let's just say I don't think Rip was super thrilled being there, and I think him and Tom were I think there was a bit of friction, and you could feel it. He was sort of intense, so I was just like, I'm just gonna do because he's kind of an intense guy, and he's an old pro, like he's a seasoned
dude, he's one of the
pro,
best ever.
and so I just I didn't dick around too much with that one. I just because he was in a right.
You mean he didn't love being in a movie where the premise is he fingered his son?
And you can kind of see it on screen.
It comes across on screen because Rip Torn really seems like he hates Tom Green, and Tom Green seems legitimately frightened of what Rip Torn will do to him.
Yeah. There's this one scene where Tom Green is in a scuba outfit.
Get out of my scuba outfit, you moron!
I'm like, how did Rip Torn's character ever get a scuba outfit?
What the fuck is going on? I'm underwater. Look, I found a treasure. A treasure? That's soap on a rope. It's a treasure. Get out of my goddamn scuba gear, you imbecile!
And then he just walks in frame, or like he walks in front of a camera.
Yeah.
And then like kind of sidesteps or gets away from it.
Oh yeah, you see the shadow of a camera operator on him. It's
great.
It doesn't. It's so haphazard.
Yeah.
The entire movie.
And again, continuing with the cast, Drew Barrymore I thought was great.
Oh yeah, Drew Barrymore.
Who was his like
wife
at the time.
They were married at the time.
Yeah. There was like a little bit of a post-credit scene. I think this is the first movie that had a post-credit scene at the end of it. Like after the credits rolled, it was just them like being silly and nonsensical. And
oh yeah, this movie does end with like behind the scenes and like bloopers, which I so miss from just kind of any movie nowadays. I like seeing that behind the scenes stuff, and it's so great. And a lot of it at the end of this movie is just Tom Green doing something disgusting. He's like, what am I doing? What are we doing here?
What the fuck are we doing?
Like, even he's confounded by what he himself is creating.
Like, there was that scene in which he, like, basically, like, guts a moose.
Oh, yeah.
And starts, like, playing with the inner skeleton of it.
You gotta get inside these animals, Gordy.
And then during the post-credit scene, he's just like, what am I doing?
He's like, what is this?
But, I mean, even, like, Drew Barrymore, I think she really played into it as well.
Yeah.
Because at one point, she was like, get away, you skinny loser.
A woman is dead. Linda is dead.
I thought we could grieve together over the dead Linda, over the dead woman, over the woman, over the woman.
Fuck off! You're a skinny loser! Someone call security!
Don't call them!
It helps that the entire cast is like comedy people and they all seem to be in on the joke. Like, I forget the name of the actress who plays Gordy's girlfriend, or the girl he starts dating, when she commits
one.
Yes,
retard. In the words of Rip Torn, Rip Torn's character.
Retard slut whore!
I am not retarded!
Daddy!
Yes, but yeah, no, she's fully in on playing like she's in a wheelchair, and the only way she gets sexual pleasure is from having her legs caned. It's so ridiculous. And she has a fixation on constantly blowing Gordy. Like, it's such a lark, and just describing it sounds horrific, which it 100% is.
I mean, again, it's a satirization of like your typical Adam Sandler film.
Yeah.
That was very prevalent during this time. And I feel like that girlfriend is a play off of just the side chick who's only there to service the man. And I think Tom Green did a great job in terms of showing a satirization of that character within this movie. And he went a little bit over the top, but that's what Tom Green does.
Fully. The entire movie is fully over the top.
He goes on top of he goes in a helicopter to win over the chick's love and shows her jewels.
They're jewels, Betty. I brought you jewels.
On their first date, he brings his dad's phone and tape recorder to simulate him being in a business call. And he just yells while eating fish with one hand.
I'm talking about 40 million fucking Deutschmark here, Bob! 40 million fucking Deutschmark! I told you to wire the money to Geneva last week! I say Geneva, you hear Helsinki? Huh? 40 million fucking Deutschmark, Bob!
That entire scene was hilarious. We didn't even get into the elephant in the room, which is the recurring bit of the child routinely falling and getting hit in the face.
There's like the small child, basically like his neighbor, like his child sidekick, who every time he shows up, he gets hurt, but like graphically hurt. Like, is the first one, like he smashes his face against Gordy's car and like it's just blood all over. It's terrifying. Yeah. So much of this movie is just viscerally upsetting.
Yeah.
It's basically a horror movie.
I was watching Ebert's review on this movie.
Yeah.
And he was describing the childbirth scene at length. And that was when like he was like really upset by the film.
But the scene of the pregnant woman in the hospital who goes into labor and he rips the baby out of her womb and swings it around his head.
Choose the umbilical
That woman is not set up in any way, I mean, how could she be, as a comic target? She is frightened. She is in pain. She is terrified. And then he brings the baby back to life by swinging it around his head and keeps saying, I saved the day, I saved the day.
That's so funny.
And
that's so
I'm
funny.
sitting there in the audience feeling sad and sick.
It is very upsetting, but like there's this weird kind of it's weird how to word it. I'm going to say artistry.
Yeah.
There's an artistry to Tom Green's chaos. Like you mentioned the hospital birthing scene,
which was hilarious.
It's so funny and gross and upsetting, but like the way Tom Green kind of like builds the chaos, where it just starts with him just kind of like dicking around in his friend's hospital room and like shaking his broken leg, all the while this woman's like, would you shut your mouths? I'm a pregnant woman about to give birth. And just as it escalates, she's like, I'm going into labor. Tom Green throws on the doctor's jacket. He's like, I see the problem. There's a little baby inside your body. And just the way it just constantly ramps up in madness, she's screaming at him like, get away, you fucking idiot, I'm pregnant. And he just keeps trying to get her to push. And then like two women start chanting.
Yeah, they're Native Americans. I feel like it's important to state that.
Yeah, no, they start chanting and singing all the while during this birthing scene. Just the way it all ramps up is weirdly kind of well done and kind of puts you in the mindset of this is horrific. I'm uncomfortable, I'm cringing, but I have no other choice but to laugh because the movie's holding me hostage.
Yeah. And that's what Tom Green does best.
That's what Tom Green does best, baby.
Yeah. I mean, that scene was frighteningly hilarious.
Yeah, frighteningly hilarious is... put that on the box for the movie.
But again, that's just one scene and a bunch of scenes where you're just like, I mean, that scene in which he's licking Harlan Williams.
Oh, yeah, it's so gross. His open wound is so gross.
It is hilarious. And like the amount of I wouldn't say animal cruelty, but like when at the end of the film where Rip Torn's home gets ripped from like the actual place of residence.
Oh yeah,
and they're in Pakistan.
Yeah,
and they get kidnapped by a bunch of rebels.
Yeah, the entire hostage negotiation to get them back. Is it while they're there that Tom Green jerks off an elephant?
Yes.
Yeah. No. That's a through line throughout the entire movie. Is his fascination with jerking off animals.
Yeah.
It's like the very first scene that we get when he goes off on his little road trip to California. It's such a non sequitur. He sees like a horse breeding farm. Close in zoom on a horse dick. He screams at the top of his lungs and goes over to jerk off the horse. I feel like I go crazy the more I talk about this movie. It's like my third eye is opening and I'm witnessing the horrors of the cosmos when I talk about Freddy Got Fingered.
And quite honestly, the best scene in this film is a play off of the title of this film, Freddy Got Fingered, where Tom Green and his parents are sitting down with a family therapist, I'd say, family psychiatrist.
They go to therapy.
And the big reveal...
He's a molester. He's a child molester! Accuses Rip Torn of abusing his little brother, and that's the title of the movie. He's like, he fingers him.
And there's just like a hard cut to... Institute for Sexually Molested Children.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know. I don't even know how to describe the thought process of that entire sequence. Yeah. It's so weird. For some reason, they're watching horror movies on the TV, and like his like 25-year-old little brothers with all these kids, and it's like, hey, if you don't want to talk about it, you don't need to. There's so many instances in the movie where it's like, what's the joke?
Yeah.
And that kind of exemplifies the whole movie. It's just like, what was the thought process? Or was there no thought process? Or is the joke on me for thinking that there was a thought process and Tom Green wasn't just like, I don't know if we got the money.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so Tom Green was on the Burt Kreischer podcast.
Oh, okay.
I'm just quoting podcast references at this point.
Nice.
But Tom Green was on the Burt Kreischer podcast, and he was saying that the initial cut of the movie was screened to New Regency, which was the production company of this movie.
Oh my God, that's
and
so funny.
The president or some like key executive there watched the film with Tom Green. It was like a special screening, and at the end of the film, he stood up and clapped at the film and said that this is the best first cut we've ever seen from a film. And then they screened it to like test audiences, and that's when the notes came in.
Oh,
this was before the focus group. We went and screened it at 20th Century Fox, and the head of the New Regency Studios, his name's Arnon Milchan. He's renowned studio head. At the end of the screening, stood up, applauded. He's an Israeli guy. He said that was the best first cut I've ever seen from a first-time director in my entire career.
So who knows? I mean, this film was definitely bogged down by like test screenings and by test audiences.
Yeah.
But it still holds up because it's genuinely able to be its own thing.
It very much is a unique experience, and regardless of like the critical reception, it is like at its core an artist being given like full creative control to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Except the twist is that the artist was Tom Green and he's a maniac.
There was that scene in which like he works at another sandwich shop, Submarine Supreme, I think. That's
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Within his own area in Portland, and there's like a disgruntled customer being like, "You forgot the cheese." And he just adds, like, there's a bunch of cheese just lying around, like a bunch of, like, Kraft singles.
It's so gross.
And he just puts all the cheese on it, all the tomatoes, all the lettuce, hands it back to him.
You can put the cheese in your bun. he's so terrible.
Yeah.
Just multiple scenes of just pure nonsense. Every time Rip Torn walks into his home, Tom Green is doing something just
liar!
It's like the Backwards Man, his
sausage song.
Daddy, would you like some sausage? Daddy, would you like some sausages? It's all insane.
Yeah.
It's the musings of a maniac, of an absolute psycho, and it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Mwah, cinema.
Yeah. And overall, I think the general gist of the film is quite relatable. A person that's achieving their dream or trying to achieve their dream, they're not able to, or they're having some setbacks. They're in a situation or an environment that kind of doesn't really foster that creativity. And at the end of the film, or near the end of the film, he gets inspired when he sees his ex-girlfriend or ex-fling be able to create a rocket-powered wheelchair. Which then inspires him to go to LA and showcase his drafts to the TV exec.
But Michael, it's played by Michael C. Hall?
Yeah.
Right? From the Breakfast Club? So weird. Yeah. Oh my God.
But again, there's heart to this film that I don't think is there with other comedies during this time period. There is a genuine ambition to make something unique, and for that I appreciate it.
Legit ambition to create a unique film with a unique vision and voice behind it. I wouldn't go as far as to say heart necessarily, because the movie doesn't take itself that seriously.
Yeah.
I think if the movie looked at something with heart, it would spit in its face and call it stupid. The movie does not give a shit. It's kind of like, it's punk.
Yeah.
It's punk as all hell.
I mean, the soundtrack is reflective of that.
Oh yeah.
With the Clash, with Green Day, the real Slim Shady, because of course you have to include that song with
it's
Tom
early
Green.
2000s, you gotta.
Yeah, it's cool for Tom Green to hump a dead moose. That's a pretty good lyric, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, yes. Yeah. That is from the real Slim Shady.
Yeah.
But it's cool for Tom Green to hump a dead moose.
So, I mean, overall, I think the soundtrack is emblematic of the tone of what this movie is trying to go for.
Yeah.
And again, I love it. I mean, there's not much to add besides that. We love this film, dude.
It's a very special movie, and it should only be watched with like the context of what it is. If you're expecting like a standard like sweet little comedy film about a misunderstood dork, you're gonna have a nightmare. You're gonna experience a panic attack. But if you kind of know what it is going in, that it's Tom Green without any shackles, just given completely full license to do whatever he wants, it's something very special. And again, something I don't think we'll really ever see someone given just complete control to go buck wild on whatever nonsense pops into their head.
Yeah, I mean, there were questions in regards to the script. I mean, let's not cut ourselves short here. Even with like the way that it's shot, there's that scene between Drew Barrymore and Tom Green.
Oh yeah, and
where one is like something off-colored, or the coloring of it is kind of off.
Yeah,
when they had that back and forth. Obviously there are issues, but again, Tom Green is a trendsetter. He is a trendsetter because we would not have this modern day version of awkward cringe
comedy.
Yeah, without Tom Green.
Yeah, no.
And even in terms of the media landscape of things, because at one point Tom Green had this thing called the Tom Green Show on YouTube or on his website, where he would just interview guests. And at one point he interviewed Rogan. He interviewed Joe Rogan. And Joe Rogan was just so fascinated by this entire thing. He's like, I think at one point, like when Joe Rogan sat down with Tom Green, he was like, "You inspired me to make my own podcast."
Oh no!
Regardless of how we may feel about it, at the end of the day, he is a trendsetter, and he allowed the modern day version of the podcast comedy boom to occur because of his show. So in a lot of ways, for better or for worse, he inspired today's version of entertainment.
If it weren't for Tom Green, we wouldn't be here.
We wouldn't be here today.
What a crime you've committed, Tom Green.
Yeah. So overall, I mean, I love this film so much. It's one of my favorite films of all time.
It really is a unique and special film that I'm glad has its own cult following, because I think it really deserves that. It deserves to kind of move around and spread like a virus. It's so wonderful. I'm just astounded by all the artistic merit it seems to have, which it shouldn't, but it does.
Yeah.
It's such an anomaly.
And again, the quotable lines from this movie, they're jewels, Betty. Jewels.
They're jewels.
I have a bag of jewels for you. What? They're jewels, Betty. They're jewels.
I just want to... I'm going to give you a blowjob.
I'm gonna give you a blowjob.
Betty, it's only our first date. Don't you think we should go do some romantic stuff first? Like maybe take a walk in the park or something like that?
I can't walk.
But Gord, I just want to suck your cock.
I don't think she was corpsing during that. Like she was basically, I think she wanted to break character and just laugh. Because the delivery of the dialogue felt kind of stunted.
Yeah.
Even if you were poor, I'd still just want to stay home and suck your cock.
But obviously, Tom Green was just like, one take. He's the one take wonder.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need to go again. It was perfect the first time.
And again, like, the pacing of this movie. It's an hour and 27-minute film, but it feels like a 3-hour, 27-minute
Oh my god, no. It feels so long.
And they poke fun at it at the end, because at one point there was like a sign saying, "When the fuck will this movie end?"
Yeah, no, it's everything that is wrong with the movie is, I think, incredibly aware of. It knows it makes no sense and knows it has no sense of pacing, but it doesn't care.
Yeah.
It holds you hostage and then makes fun of you for having sat there and watched it the whole time.
Yeah. This movie sticks with you. Like you said, it's a virus. It is a virus.
Oh yeah, no, you will
because
never
you will
fully
never
recover.
forget this experience of watching this movie, and I think that's the highest endorsement you can ever have.
This
for a
is
film.
the Lyme disease of cinema.
This is the AIDS of cinema, but the good kind of AIDS, the Magic Johnson kind of AIDS, you know, the good kind of AIDS.
I said, you know what? I want to save a lot of brothers and sisters' lives. So I'm gonna come out public. So Dr. Ho, who's located here in New York.
Dr. Ho.
Dr. Ho.
It's not a good name for HIV. First got the information, did you ever say to yourself, it was that nasty bitch from Sacramento who did that? Well,
I think that's it for
I think we covered all bases. We got into everything we needed to without, I guess, kind of trying to tear the movie down, like pick it apart, because you can't pick this apart.
Yeah,
really.
You can't pick apart anything that knows it shouldn't be taken seriously.
Yeah, no, it's a futile effort to try to judge this movie on like a scale of normal movies. It's ascended.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to satirize something that knows it's already a satirization of that genre.
Yeah.
So enjoy the film.
Enjoy it.
Enjoy the film. It's better than any of the movies that are out in theaters right now.
It really
that released this past week.
I mean, maybe Reagan is just as funny, but we'll never know because we're not fucking watching that.
Tear down this wall.
Tear down this wall, Gordy!
You're a liar! Iron Contra's a lie!
I just want to say the line. You can cut it out, but you can either eat that goddamn roast beef or you can go to bed.
say that with ketchup, because Reagan was a big proponent of ketchup being a vegetable.
You can either eat that goddamn ketchup or you can go to bed.
All right, I think that's it for us.
That's it for us.
Bye.
I personally swear occasionally, like for instance when Bob Saget came on the show and he said cock, okay? And then somebody commented on the fact that he said cock. Of course then I'm going to say, yeah, it is funny to hear Bob Saget say cock, and in that context I will say cock